Welcome to TV Trash. Last year at around this time, I chose to show my extreme dislike of South Park by giving my list of the worst episodes of that series. Some people did not like that. What's going on?
We're getting flamed, literally! I told you going after that show was a bad idea!
Yeah, anyway, with the holidays coming up, now's a good time to show you that once again I can give the good with the bad and give you all perhaps just a little present early. I'm going to review one South Park episode that I actually find tolerable. As I said before, the concept of what South Park ultimately became is not a bad idea at all, and I give Trey Parker and Matt Stone credit for realizing the biting satire on social and political issues was what could carry the show. If they had just focused it on a group of little kids being potty-mouthed jerks, the show probably would have died out in a couple of years. I get why people like the show. I just wish they didn't feel the need to throw in sophomoric toilet humor just to claim they're edgy. Showing people vacating their bowels when they die does nothing to further the joke on big box stores. But there are a handful of episodes where they kept the extremely crass stuff to a minimum, and thus the biting satire and humor stood out. And here's what I believe may be the best example of that. Let's look at the South Park episode, Osama bin Laden has farty pants. Let me get this out of the way first. I was planning on this review well before the Nostalgia Critic put out his list of his favorite episodes of the show and made this #1 on said list. But there's a reason he did that. There might even now be people young enough that they don't know just what 9/11 did to America. I hate to use the terms arrogant and cocky, but we did have a confidence that we were a safe country, that we would never have to worry about forces coming to our borders. What happened on September 11th, 2001 was a punch in the gut to that confidence and security. There were people who wanted us to believe that we were now no safer than any war-torn third world country, and we had no choice but to live our lives in total fear, believing that we could all be killed by terrorists at any time and nothing could be done to stop it, and that's just how life would now be forever. Pretty much everything shut down for the first week or so following 9/11, especially in the realm of entertainment. So everyone was on edge as to what was going to happen when they finally came back, and definitely South Park had to be near the top of the list among its followers. So you just had to wonder if Trey and Matt would open this episode with a more somber and serious tone.
Remember when life used to be simple and cool? Not really.
I mean, we've had our town wrecked by an army of turkeys, a giant mecha Streisand. Next thing you know, we'll find out we're all just some part of an intergalactic reality show. This may look ridiculous now, but there was quite a bit of truth to everything that's depicted here. And you know, Trey and Matt's attempt from the beginning was clearly to make it appear how ludicrous it all was. We then cut to Afghanistan, where I guess all 4 of our main kids' fathers were stationed 10 years ago and got lonely because we have 4 Middle Eastern counterparts to them. Of course, things are a bit more difficult for them. After everything they love gets bombed, they get letters delivered by the postman whose car has to be pulled by a burro. Hey, that's supposed to look sorry, but he's not the one paying $3 for every 20 miles. The kids each get their $1 from, coincidentally, each of our 4 heroes. Because I'm sure that's how it worked, each $1 went directly to a kid who had no way to actually spend it and wasn't pooled in a fund to purchase relief supplies for them. Because of the dollars, the South Park kids get a package from Afghanistan in return, and naturally this causes the entire military to spring on South Park to investigate. But again, this is South Park, so how exactly is this abnormal?
My parents will never let me keep a goat. Well, I guess we're gonna have to kill it. No, we're not gonna kill it, Cartman. We'll just have to take the return address and mail it back to the kids in Afghanistan.
The only planes going to Afghanistan are the military planes over at the base.
You don't want Towley around?
That's right.
So am I to understand that there's been a Towley ban?
You gave that thing a cameo just to make that pun? Don't you think you guys are better than that? Look who I'm talking to. That having been said, I have to say Towley isn't quite as annoying of a character as I think the creators wanted him to be. Is he a stupid character? Yes, but by comparison of a lot of the other characters I've seen, even on this show, he doesn't crack the top 10 most annoying. Besides, he kind of makes a point about needing a towel wherever you go. Douglas Adams would agree. The boys somehow sneak onto the military base, and we begin this running gag about how people keep mistaking the goat for Fleetwood Mac member Stevie Nicks. Wow, South Park, that may be right up there with Family Guy saying Sarah Jessica Parker looks like a foot.
All right, Tango clear. Let's head out.
Going to Afghanistan? Trapped in a small space for 20 hours? How could things get any worse? Oh, you get.
Okay, now compared to what they do in a lot of other episodes, making one fart joke and waiting until the end of the first act to do it is actually showing restraint for this show.
God, what a crap hole, dude. This is like East Denver. Jesus Christ.
I would have said Oklahoma, but that's just me.
Hello, we need to go here. God, what is it, the friggin' Flintstones?
No, Cartman, if it was like the Flintstones, the burro pulling the cab would be making some wisecrack about it's a living. The kids find their Middle Eastern counterparts, and they're not exactly greeted fondly.
Yeah, they told us in school that everyone but terrorists love America.
Ha!
What did you call us?
Your country is the evil empire. Your government wants to rule the world. But your values and spirituality are in the good.
Huh, I guess the goat ate one of those Star Trek Universal Translators. But the hate they get from them is nothing compared to a group of Islamist extremists who apparently march across the streets making anti-American chants for the fun of it. I wonder if the Westboro Baptists watched this and that's what gave them their inspiration.
Greetings from Canada. Well, boys, it's about time we get back to our house in Canada, isn't it?
Kyle, that's not going to work if you don't put "eh" at the end of every sentence. The kids get taken prisoner and are led to a cave where Osama bin Laden clearly is not present. And then Osama bin Laden appears. Great, so even bin Laden had better production equipment than me. That's great for the old ego.
This is a message to all American infidels. Prepare to die in a sea of holy fire. You will be punished for your decadent ways on the first day of Ramadan.
Wait a minute. Ow, Perkins! You put the wrong footage in!
Give me a break!
Hey, it's your own fault for being hungover. You should know better than to go on a catnip party the night before we record.
Oh, a ducka ducka mala mala. Americana ducka bugga bugga. Haka haka ducka ducka.
Dude, these people are insane.
And given how many crazies live in their town, that's saying something. As if to drive that point home, we get a brief cut back to the patron saints of said insanity.
The Taliban has apparently taken American civilians as hostages. The Taliban has just released this videotape in which it is clearly visible that they have indeed captured Stevie Nicks.
Because the military now thinks the Taliban has captured Stevie Nicks, they now all of a sudden have not only the desire to find and destroy bin Laden, but the smarts to think, hey, maybe he's hiding in this cave that is clearly and stupidly marked to make us think he's not there. Okay, that actually took guts by Trey and Matt to make a joke like that about our military at that time and somehow avoid getting arrested for treason.
We have to help them. They are not the spies.
Help Americans?
That doesn't make sense. Dude, we are speaking English right now. Does that make sense?
So as the military launches their attack and bin Laden goes on some rant or spewing orders or something like that, it's not entirely clear, our 4 Middle Eastern kids come to rescue our South Park kids, showing us that there are young people in Afghanistan that care enough to take their guns and risk their lives to rescue people they hate. However, while all that we've seen so far was actually tolerable to watch, it's not what puts this episode over the top to being something that is actually enjoyable. This is...
Cartman, where are you going? I'm gonna go take care of this prick. Cartman, he's crazy. He's not crazy, he's an idiot. I know how to deal with these people. What's up, bin Laden?
Aruba dooba dooba. Durba durba hawk.
Uh-oh, 5:30, time to pray. La la
Tava hawk. Hala 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 haka durba 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 hakla.
Yes, this is what makes up a good portion of the third act. Eric Cartman going up against the most insane, ruthless terrorist of our generation and treating him like he's Elmer Fudd. What really drives this home for me is that it's clear it was made to be an homage to the classic Looney Tunes shorts and not just a cruel parody. We get shots back to the hideout where, of course, Kenny and his counterpart are killed and the kids argue back and forth about each country's customs, but it's really just a breather before we cut back to Osama and that wascally Cartman.
I got him! I got him!
So yeah, in the South Park world, bin Laden and Saddam were both killed by 2002.
Most people in America are good people who just try to live day by day like you guys do. Maybe if you took some time to see all the great things about our country, you'd see we're not so different after all. Yeah.
That's fine. But we still hate you.
Well, I guess maybe someday we can learn to hate you too.
Maybe.
And thus, the episode ends with the scheduled USO show for the troops, led by Stevie Nicks. Of course, had this been made today, it would have been a WWE show, and the GOAT would have been mistaken for Daniel Bryan.
America may have some problems, but it's our home, our team. And if you don't want to root for your team, then you should get the hell out of the stadium.
So that's Osama bin Laden has farty pants, and yeah, I feel like the comic strip critic reviewing that Garfield Halloween series, because this thing was not terrible. What makes the show work is that the creators kept the crude humor to a minimum, allowing the subject matter of the episode to speak for itself. And as the nostalgia critic pointed out, it was exactly the subject matter America needed at the time. It showed how ridiculous we all looked with our irrational fear and gave people something to laugh at. If I was a South Park fan and had been watching it in 2001, I get the feeling this episode would have been just the thing to get me out of a lot of issues I was having at the time. So for at least this one episode, I'll go ahead and salute Trey and Matt for their efforts. So does this mean that maybe, just maybe, I could take a look at the other South Park episodes and see them in a better light? Baby steps, guys. See you next time on TV Trash.